Welcome back to Comeback Cast. Today we're going to celebrate the phoenix in all of us, rising stronger from life's unexpected plot twists. I'm Brian, and I'm here with my Comeback Cast champions, Bill and Burke. We're talking about something we all know a little too well, which is navigating career transitions in our 50s and 60s. So, gentlemen, let's be real with our listeners like we have been in our first 3 episodes. We love our current jobs, but we've each walked the walk when it comes to unexpected pivots. Bill, do you want to set the stage?
Yeah, I know we've all talked about this, behind the camera, but I think we are at such an interesting time now where, I was sharing with Brian and Burke a little bit about some situations where I've had where I'm like, do I really need to be doing this job? And I just couldn't think of like what I would do to earn income or even to occupy my time. And so I think so many of us are now understanding that maybe corporate America, or, I would say kind of an institution like that, isn't the only option that we really need to look at. And so I thought this was a great topic we could all discuss.
Yeah. And for me, Brian, and that I've recently gone through this, it was one of the good things about big corporate America to me, in my mind, is the interaction with the people. And as I've gone through different transitions in life, I've always found good people, even at bad jobs. The other piece of it was the healthcare. And healthcare, the expense related to healthcare is phenomenal. And I'm fortunate, I suppose, in that my children are now old enough that they can't be on my healthcare plan anymore. But even myself, when I was in a transitionary period, and part of what started Comeback Cast, I was on Cobra. And
yeah, we're going to get to let's hold Cobra for just a few minutes.
Okay.
But Burke, this is, you said something in the past that I really love, and I'm gonna give you credit again. A euphemism that was you were reorganized at how old are you, Burke?
50. I'll be 58 in 1 week.
So you're reorganized at 58. I was reorganized at 62. Mm-hmm. Bill was reorganized roughly kind of at 60, I think. So,
59, yeah.
And I think we're all going to be, many people are going to be reorganized, whether they like it or not. But as survivors who've learned things, along the way and leverage our experience, Bill, what about this 50 plus crowd that what do you think the short-term, near-term future is?
Well, I think part of it is kind of changing what your expectations are. And if you're in a situation, for example, when I left from my company that I've been with for most of my career, it was a pretty big shock in terms of, financial impact. I was no longer making a corporate salary. I had to step back, obviously live off some retirement money I had saved up. And every time I've had to do that, which is kind of stepping back, I've always been able to leapfrog further than I had been. And so I kept telling myself that, where, this is temporary. And now it's really up to me. It's not going to be about, go finding another job in a big company. It's going to be, what can I actually create? Something I've always wanted to do my entire life. So that's at least what went through my head. Now it's an opportunity. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Burke, to your point, I'm going to toss it back. For me, I have a family, and I really found myself without benefits or having to leverage Cobra. And also it became one of the things that is interesting. If you're let's say you just want to retire early and you're 48 or 50. One of the things you're going to find out is a big challenge, maybe even your largest challenge, is maintaining that healthcare coverage. And Burke, you just brought up Cobra. You want to talk about that?
Well, and Yes, I was on Cobra for 3 months. It was fortunate that I had good benefits at my prior employer, so they just carried through. But when you're 58 years old, you got stuff going on that you need to address, and it's very expensive. Uh, Kind of back to Bill's point, though, in one of our articles on Substack was an article that Bill titled "The Suit That's Never Wrinkled." I think we all grew up in this ideology. My grandfather, he worked for the bank his whole career. It was, in his case, U.S. Bank. My dad worked for the insurance company his whole career. And so I kind of went into life 35, 40 years ago when I went into the working world thinking, well, that's what I'll do. And I went to work for the bank. And I just thought that's where I'm going to be because that's how it goes. And now we're in this very different world where you don't stay at the same employer and you don't get rewarded for loyalty. My last role, and Brian, you know, because you were my manager, I couldn't work any harder. And I still got reorganized out or riffed out, and call it what you will, and find myself on Cobra and thinking, well, I couldn't have done any more. I don't have any regrets about that particular job because I couldn't have done more. And
Yeah.
they
So you
didn't
sit
care.
there, and you say, and Bill, you just touched on this. If you could go quickly through this, and then we'll go over to just talking about the Phoenix of this particular show, is you sit there and you say, well, is now retirement or is it not? Bill, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so I retired for like a couple months. I was climbing the walls in terms of, I live in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the middle of winter, not a lot going on. And financially, I was going to be okay. I wasn't worried about that, but it was going to mean a pretty major change, to the family finances and things like that. And Burke, you mentioned healthcare. I have 3 young sons, well, young meaning early adult. And I needed the health insurance really for them and me. I mean, I'm getting older too. So that was one of the main reasons I ended up going back into a corporation, but not because I walked around looking for a job. I was actually asked to join by, again, the network of people that I had built up over time. And yeah, when you're always in the same company, in the same kind of industry, it's sometimes very easy to build a network. It's sometimes very hard to. And especially if you yearn to do something different than what you've done. And that was certainly the situation I was in.
Well, I want to toss over to Burke, and Burke is very passionate about what he does and yearns to still continue in what he has done. What did you learn about the job market, Burke?
For our age group, it's extremely difficult. And just our most recent article, I think just went yesterday on Substack, was talking about, is it what you know or who you know? And my most recent transition, yes, I'm very passionate about my industry. I'm in the payments business. I'm very good at it, and I'm not being arrogant, I hope, too much, but I've done it a long time. I've been an entrepreneur in that industry. Started from the janitor to the CEO role, call it. But it's an industry that I love. Did that get me a job? Not necessarily. Was it who I knew, who knew that I was good at it? Yes, it was who I knew, not what I knew. What I knew became relevant once the who I knew got me to the front door. But I was just telling Bill behind the camera, without the person, which is you, Brian, it didn't matter what I know. So it was who I knew. And it's just a very interesting dichotomy right now, being unemployed at age 58. You've got this wealth of experience, but you've also got a world that's really changed in terms of the employment market. And we are not a commodity that is highly desired, even given the skills and years of experience that we have to offer. It's extremely difficult right now. So besides being passionate about my career and my industry, I'm super thankful for the network I've built up and the people who I know and who know me.
Yeah.
And that's
great.
more than anything
Go ahead.
important.
Well, that in networking is great. That's kind of what brought us together as the Comeback Cast. Let's shift to the positive aspect of what we're seeing and where we're going, where we go forward. And Bill, I'm going to call upon you because it really leverages off of what you just said. Is research shows that, age discrimination awareness is increasing. More companies are recognizing the value of AI, which maybe amplifies this. And there seems to be some kind of shift. Can you touch upon that? I think you did in your previous statements. How about you expand?
Yeah. Well, I definitely think there is ageism out there. I've experienced it, and sometimes I'm the last person to see it because deep down, I still think I'm like 28 or 30 or something like that. I still feel energized and relevant and creative and things like that. But when you're surrounded by people who are decades younger than you forget that all of a sudden you're now the old one. And how you're often perceived is like the old one who's kind of going out to pasture or whatever. And a lot of us aren't ready for that. And I certainly wasn't. I just didn't want to be doing the same thing I was doing. And so, to your point, I think it's forget about what people think or may think about you. You're always going to have some kind of ism. People are going to come in and look at you for being too X, Y, or Z. And in the case of ageism, you know what you do have? You have experience. You have real life examples. You have options that you could have taken that you didn't and you learned from or whatever. And that's something right now that AI cannot replicate. And so I think that I'm getting constantly called by headhunters, knowing they look at my resume or they look at my LinkedIn page and they kind of estimate, okay, this guy isn't like 28 like he thinks he is, but it's I'm further down the road and I'm getting more of that kind of request than I ever have at really any point in my life, which is really ironic because I don't want it. So,
So Burke, over, and Bill, I just have to say, isms is funny because my 14-year-old son said came home and he was talking to his mom and he said, "Mom, my friend said, what's my ism?" And because you've got to have an ism.
Yeah.
And it's like, so we use that in our house now too. Well, that's my ism. So, I like Kendra will say, I don't have the financial, that's my ism. That's my hole in my brain.
Yeah.
So, but that's just funny.
We
Bert,
all have them.
Yeah. Over to you as to the networks and where you found yourself and how we can turn this into a pivot of new beginnings.
Well, it is relying on your network and in my case, just asking for help. I think most people will respond very positively. Certainly you can define who your strong relationships are by asking for help. And that's not a sign of weakness. That's a sign, and that took me a long time to get over that, is that it's not bad to say, hey, I need help. I'm in this transition. I know you, you know me. Can you help me? And in most cases, people will. I think LinkedIn is a great tool. Brian, I love LinkedIn. I think it's become more of a social media site than it was originally intended. And I'd be curious to talk to those guys that started LinkedIn and say, is this the vision you had of it becoming more like Facebook, or was it really just originally an online Rolodex? And we have an article on Substack about that, and in that I used to guard that so tightly because it was my Rolodex. And now I'm pretty open to, if I kind of know you or we have some mutual connection, then sure, yeah. I'm gonna link in with you because of the power of it and the ability to say, hey, I'm looking. Can you help me? And there's others way better than me at doing that. But it's been a great tool, Brian. We were looking at yours the other day. I was proud to see you have almost 3,000 connections on LinkedIn.
Because I'm what you despise, a lion, which is LinkedIn Open Network. Yeah. So I love it. And for our listeners that might be in the middle of their own transition right now, Bill, what's your best advice? Burke gave us the advice of ask for help, and I think it's outstanding. And you need to be not worried about asking. And also you can tell them that, look, I'm not asking for a job. I'm just asking for how you can help. What are the things that might be ideas, brainstorming? But what's your best advice?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I would say probably the number one thing that I tell people what was different this time in my life was I really had the opportunity to learn something new every day, and I embraced that. I embraced the ability. We were talking about Bitcoin and some of those kinds of things, which I personally don't really understand. And now I have some time to actually, read about it and understand it. And so I really try to embrace every single day. I meditate every morning. I think about what I want to do. It's not this constant rush of just, keeping on the treadmill. And I think just remember, you're not done yet. Just keep telling yourself you're not done yet. You're never done. And it's up to you to continue to get up every day and try something new, learn something new, fail at something that you thought you'd be good at, and maybe but you learned something. So don't cut off that part of yourself, and in fact water it and grow it, because I think you're at the time of your life where you can really expand with all the life experience and knowledge that you've gained over your life.
Burke, anything that you'd like to add to Bill's statements?
I agree 100%. And I was laughing, Bill, when you said in your brain you're 28. And I was reading an article the other day about now 60 is the new 40. And I don't know if we're just saying that because it's our generation that's writing those articles. And
Yeah.
I certainly feel that way. And having now just started a new job myself in corporate America, thanks to who I knew, it's invigorating to me. It's scary in that I know the industry, I know the business, I feel very comfortable. Do I know all their systems? No. And I'm learning every day, and that's what keeps me going and that I enjoy. I don't know what I would do if I didn't get up and learn new things every day. And it's strange to think I'm 58 years old, because I certainly remember being 28 and thinking, gosh, 58 is so far away. What? My dad retired when he was 58, and I would hate that. I don't know what I would do if I was financially. Could I? Probably, but I don't know what I do every day.
That's a beautiful statement, in the fact that we may have a number of our listeners that are in that spot right now. And what I want you to really focus on, everybody out there, is there's something you can do. You can get together with 3 friends and make a podcast that you put out there, like Comeback Cast. You can do start writing that novel that you've always heard about, which is one of the things that Bill did. Whatever, regardless, if you're fortunate enough to get a job, that's great. Otherwise, there's a future out here, and we're not just surviving these transitions, we're thriving through them. We are proof that careers have multiple acts, that they go on from, one chapter to the next, and just have faith and keep charging forward, keep moving forward. And guys, that's our show for today. Remember, if you're facing a career transition, everybody out there, we're not alone. You've got people that can help you. You got people that want to guide you through maybe some of those talents that you didn't realize others recognized in you, and they can bring those forward. So let's go ahead, and guys, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't have to be a career transition. It could be any life transition. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, here on Substack, and of course here on YouTube. But tell us about your transitions. Maybe we'd love to have you on the show. But thanks for another great episode, you guys. I love doing this with you.
Me too. I was just going to say, keep learning, keep pushing yourself, move out of your comfort zone, and embrace the adventure ahead, because you really create it yourself. And so don't wait for somebody else to do it. You're going to do it yourself.
Well, for me, Brian, It has been a great Comeback Cast episode. You've heard from Burke and Bill. I'd like to thank you both for this wonderful session. We look forward to having many more. Please check out the Substack articles. Folks, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Please give us some comments down below. And if you'd like a thumbs up, that always helps. And we'd like you to stay positive and have a great week.